Welcome. This is the session on selecting courses. This one works a little different from the same session going on in the other rooms, because as you are all admitted to Humanities and Social Sciences, there's way more flexibility for you, and your course selection is far less prescriptive than that of the students in some of the other rooms. This is exciting. It also comes with lots of minutia. So I totally understand that you are all familiar with the calendar, and you've probably done a fair bit of looking into courses and even programs before coming today. So I will try and balance out boring you with basic details with providing some of the more refined details that may help you with your course selection. So basically, that's my agenda. And I better just start since it's my fault that we're all running slightly late. Few real basics. As I said, there are some basics here. There are full courses and there are half courses. Full year courses last a whole year, and so they're Y courses. They run from September through until April. And the half courses come in two varieties, an F and an S. F is for fall term or for first term, and S is for spring term or second term. The middle of the term is December. The new term starts in January. Pretty clear. I'm going to do a quick read of a calendar description just so I know we're all on the same page. And although we're Humanities and Social Sciences, I'm using a chemistry course because it's got all the details poured into it, more than what we actually need in the room. But you've always got the title of the course. This happens to have been called something else before, but this course is 36 lectures, 12 tutorial, and 18 practical. 36 lecture because it's a half course offered on the St. George campus. That's what the 1 stands for. And 12 weeks of term, 12 times 3 is 36. There's 3 hours a week of this course. This course also has 12 tutorials, so that there's a 1-hour tutorial every week for the 12 weeks. And this course also has practicals, which in this case is laboratories. And those labs are 3 hours at a time. 6 of them, 3 times 6 is 18. So they happen to be every other week. There's always a course description. If there are prerequisites for a course, it will tell you here. In the Humanities and Social Sciences, there's a little more flexibility. So if they list a prerequisite and you don't have it, but you think you have something close to a prerequisite for a course that you really wanted, then don't hesitate to approach the department and ask if there is a possibility by explaining why it is that you feel that you have the prerequisite or the equivalent of the prerequisite for the course. On the other hand, when it comes to languages, there is online placement tests for a lot of the language courses at U of T. So be sure you do the online placement tests because they are the ones that will tell you which French course you should be in. And it's actually required that you complete those before signing up for a number of our language courses. Courses will also list co-requisites, something you have to take. And again, it's more prescribed in sciences, where here it's strongly recommended, but no one takes chemistry without taking math at the same time. There are exclusions. If you are taking Chemistry 135, then you can't take one of these courses. You probably now know to ignore this line that says distribution requirements because that's for people from years ago. And so that leaves you the breadth requirements, and it's always helpful to know which courses, what the breadth requirement is for courses. And as you hopefully know from your first session, there are a small number of courses that do not have a breadth requirement attached to it. Those aren't transfer credits. Your transfer credits will tell you exactly what the breadth requirement is. But English 100 has no breadth eligibility. INI 103 has none. And Management 100 has none. Okay. You also are familiar now with course load. Sometimes we say courses and credits interchangeably, but credits is a value and a weight. So students will typically take 5 courses a year for 4 years, and they would, after which time they would complete their honors degree if they've met all their degree requirements. Is there anyone in the room who did not hear what Degree Explorer is? Great, because it's the most helpful tool that will get you through the next 4 years. Don't feel you need to take 5 courses a year. You can take 4 courses a year. You can take 4.5. You can take 3. You can take 6. And there's a strategy for choosing a 6th course that I'm going to talk about in about 10 minutes. But I strongly advise that at least in first year, no matter how well you think you can do at the University of Toronto, 5 is more than enough to do well in. And again, don't feel if you start in 5 and you think this is just too much for me, don't think that you aren't succeeding because you would like to go at a different rate and take 4 courses or 3.5 or 4.5. Okay, and every time we say 5 courses, that's 5 full courses or the equivalent in half courses, 10 half courses. Good so far? Okay. Also, try and balance them out between first term and second term. Every once in a while, we see students who take something like 8 half courses in first term and 2 in the second term. Still comes out to 10 half courses or 5 courses, but you can't manage 8. Starting this year, thankfully, the system will stop students from putting themselves in more than 6 courses a term. We've been trying to do that for years, but now it's in place. But again, try and balance it out at 5 and 5. It will just work better for you. Okay. A few more course basics. As you know, there's lots of options. We offer 2,000 courses. About 500 of them are at the first year. And you can take some courses. The same course will offer a traditional approach to the subject matter. Another one will offer a more contemporary approach to the subject matter. So try and collect as much information as possible before you sign up for the courses, just to see what it is you're really interested in. The course descriptions are certainly really helpful to explain the difference between courses that look similar. Let me say right now that unless you are taking math or chemistry or physics, and nobody in the room is, then, or maybe you are for fun, the higher the number within there's 100 series courses, but there could be English 140 and maybe English 170. The higher the number does not mean the harder the course. Only in chemistry, where 151 is much harder than the 135, 136, and in math, where the 157 is for people who dream about math in their sleep, and the physics as well. But other than that, don't worry about the last 2 digits in the 3-digit code, okay? Scheduling around, yeah, of course, when you're trying to figure out your course schedule, you'll want to schedule around your own personal schedules or work schedules. And, you know, most students manage to do this. I would say, I don't know if it's on this slide or a later one, it also means that you could schedule to just go to classes 3 days a week, because that often works. But I would say try not to give yourself a holiday every week. And if not going to school means that it might be harder to concentrate on studies, then you might want to think about coming down 4 days a week or even 5 days a week to classes. But don't pour everything into 3 days. You'll spend way too much time in classes, you'll fall asleep, and it won't be helpful. Also, I'll say now, if I don't say it again later, it's a very simple way to stay on top of things at this institution, and that is read before you go to class. You'll get a syllabus. They will tell you exactly what you're doing for the year. Try and do at least a little bit of reading before you go to class. The students who I have encountered who have the most difficulties, it's not that they can't manage university level study. Sometimes they're distracted, and orientation can be a distraction if it continues for a couple of weeks beyond the first 3 days. But it's most often just a case of students falling behind in a course and just not being able to keep up. A lecture is way more interesting if you've familiarized yourself with the stuff. That doesn't just mean like reading the book before it gets discussed in the English course, but reading the chapters. I'm not saying go out and buy all your books. You might have been in the room when you saw the video about books. Some people wait with buying their books until the last minute. Some people buy used books, get online books, ebooks, but try and have your book before it's being discussed in a class. Okay, always check prerequisites, co-requisites, and exclusions, and know that in the humanities and social sciences, there can be some flexibility about this, except in the languages where they can be quite tough. The enrollment indicators, I'll talk more about this in a few minutes, but also there's 10 minutes between classes at this university. Classes don't start on the hour in the day, they start 10 minutes after the hour. So if you have a 10 o'clock class and it says this class goes from 10 to 11, it starts at 10 minutes after 10 and it stops at 11 o'clock. And then your next class at 11 could be across campus, so you have 10 minutes to get there. Oh, I may as well show you this. This is the 35 city block downtown campus. You happen to be, let's see, Innis is in the upper left quadrant in the west, and it can sometimes be a challenge getting across Queen's Park if you have back-to-back classes and you have 10 minutes to get from, say, Innis over to St. Michael's College or Victoria College, which are over here in the east. So if you don't like walking fast, and there are Bixie bikes on campus, but if you don't want to run, or if you want to seat at the front of the class, in the class that you have right after your first class, you might want to manipulate your schedule so you don't go running from class to class. Queen's Park can be a little slippery in the winter. So if you have to cross that in 10 minutes, that's not so easy to navigate. Let's go back for a minute to see what else I was going to say. Finally, remember, there's always room for small classes and electives in your schedule, especially because you're a humanities and social science student. You don't have 3 or 4 courses prescribed to you. And we'll talk about small classes and big classes in a few minutes as well. Okay, that's enough of the big map. We get it. We get it. U of T is big. Oh, so this is worth reminding you. When you sign up for your courses, most of them actually won't tell you where your class is when you're signing up on the 26th of July, which is the date you all have written down or engraved in your head as the day you want to sign up for courses, because you're competing with thousands of other first-year students. And in order to get your best chance of getting the courses you want, you really want to sign up for your courses on your start day as well as your start time. So on the 26th, you won't know in most instances where that class is being offered, which makes it a little difficult to take my advice about, not having back-to-back classes that require you to cross Queen's Park in the ice. But you can always make changes. And most importantly, by the end of August, you will know where your classes are, and you can always make changes to your schedule. I just indicated to you that you need to race to get into your courses on the 26th, or they'll all be full. Not all the courses will be full, but some of the more popular courses will. So you will know which ones are the ones that you were glad you got into, because the timetable will tell you this course is full at 4:25 and there's a wait list of 100 people. You don't want to switch out of that course, but you might want to switch out of a course where there's still 10 spots in it if there's another course that you wanted to try out. Even more basics. Collect as much information as you can about courses. Some of it is harder to do as a first-year student than as an upper-year student who's gotten to know a number of other students, and you can have these conversations with them. But the Faculty of Arts and Science web pages, of course, are like the calendar and the timetable. The timetable I'll open in a minute. It's the second most important document to you. The Innis blogs can sometimes be helpful. Other first-year students, but again, it's the upper-year students who tend to find out more about which profs they like better than other profs. However, there's also Rate My Prof, and there's also course evaluations on the U of T portal, which you can get to from the ribbon when you go to Acorn. It will tell you where to get to the course evaluations. So they're also somewhat helpful. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, there's a 50-50 chance that you'll get a good prof. We have a number of good profs. Not all teaching methods work for all students, but I'd say there's very few duds around. But there might be a prof that really resonates with you and your style of teaching. And if you're not in a section where that is the case, and because you've slipped into another section of a course that you would much rather have that course, there's still time to change up until like 2 weeks into school. You can make these changes. So do yourself a favor and don't feel that on the 26th, when you get your 5 courses, you're all done signing up for courses and now you're not going to make any changes. Because in a university with this much breadth and scope and with this many options, you want to take advantage of the fact that you have options for, say, better courses versus not so good courses for you. Let's see, courses. Also keep in mind that some courses are easier for some students than others. So if you're talking to students and they say, oh my gosh, the easiest course I ever took was Philosophy 245, Modern Symbolic Logic, be sure to ask that person what they're studying, because it's the science students who find modern symbolic logic really easy, because it's kind of mathematical. And it doesn't really work so well for many of the humanities students. So it's always unfortunate when you see a humanities student take modern symbolic logic because they heard they could get a 90, when a deductive and inductive logic isn't necessarily their bag. There's not tons of these courses, but again, don't collect one piece of advice. Try and get multiple pieces of advice. It's the same way you would do good research. Don't just go to one source. Okay. And also class averages, they can be pretty much the same. Sadly, you don't have access to the class averages. But when you get your transcript and you get your percentage grade and your letter grade and your grade point average value, it's also going to tell you what the class average was for your course. So after first year, you will actually know what the class average was. So if you got an A in a course where the class average was a C+, you'll feel really good. But that information isn't like in a publicly accessible document. But you will hear more from, like you'll hear from other students about how difficult a particular course was. But I will tell you is, while most of the class averages in first year courses hover around a C+, B-, not that anyone in the room will be below that because you're all going to prepare ahead of time for classes. There are some courses where the class average is slightly higher, and those happen to be the 199 courses. There's a very simple reason for this. The 199s, which you probably have already read about, I'll talk about, I think I touch on it in a later slide. These are small class experiences with instructors, most of whom are full professors at the University of Toronto, who are teaching a particular area that they're crazy about. The class is limited to 24 students each. And the fact is, nobody goes to class without being prepared ahead of time because it's a seminar class. The prof could ask you a question and you want to be prepared in advance. So what do? You end up exerting good study habits and reading ahead. But the other advantage of the course is that sometimes these instructors will spend a little more time with you when it comes to assignments or essays. They might review drafts of your work in advance to help you prepare an even stronger paper. So as a result, we have seen that the class average for the 199s is a little bit higher. Don't take a 199 just to get your science breadth out of the way, because there's a course on like stars and you, because that course might be great if you're crazy about stars, and it might be really science-based and might overwhelm you. So take a science breadth requirement for 199 as a science breadth if you love the course and you think it's going to be okay. Don't take it just to get a breadth requirement out of the way. You can get your science breadth requirements in upper years. There's a couple of courses throughout the Faculty of Arts and Science that are science courses that are designed for people who aren't science students. So, any questions so far? Yes. It does. And when we get to that page, I'm going to talk about program enrollment, but don't leave the room without my having said something about the 199s. I'll just say it now really quickly and I'll repeat it then. It opens the same time on the 26th, but on the 26th, because some of these courses are really popular and 100 people might want a class that only holds 25. With these 199s, first of all, if it has a college indicator beside it, like Woodsworth or Victoria College, then being from Innis College, you wouldn't be able to try and get into that course until August the 3rd. That is the second round of enrollment. But on the 26th of July, each of these courses has like little pots within them of spaces for students from the different streams. So each course will have like 5 spots for humanities, social sciences, life sciences, commerce, and mathematical and physical sciences. The next day, on the 27th, they collapse the pots. So if all of the pots filled up in humanities and social sciences, but nobody from the sciences filled up their pot, then on the 27th, there'd be still 5 spots in that course. So on the morning of the 27th, and I think the system logs on at 6, that's when you want to try to get the course again if you didn't succeed on the first day. Make sense? Great. So we move to our new section. I changed the color of the title. Strategies for choosing courses. So when you're looking at courses and signing up for them, start with courses you know you're going to require for your programs. This is obvious. So if you're going to go into history, start with a first-year history course, and then the other courses, because the other courses might overlap with your history course, but you need the history course in order to apply to history to get into that program at the end of your first year. So plop those in your schedule first. Use this convenient scheduling tool. There is a scheduling tool right on the timetable, which I'm going to log into in 1 second. On the calendar, there's also access to a timetable builder. On Acorn, there's a timetable builder. There's lots of timetable builders around. But I find the one on the Arts and Science timetable just as good as any other one. It tells you if you're in courses with conflicts. Oh, well, here's another tip I'll tell you right now. Although it's not at all advisable to be in courses that are taught at the same time, because none of us can bilocate, you actually can put yourself into courses that are offered at the same time. The university would love to change this rule, but it hasn't yet, and I'm thrilled about that, because this is a good strategy for choosing courses. If there's 2 courses that you're crazy about, you want to go to the first week of class to find out which one you like better, then you can go to half of one and half of the other, get the syllabus for both, see what you think of the course, and then make your choice, and then drop one of them. And then, you know what, it's the first week of school, you're dropping it so somebody else will still be able to grab it. You're not stealing the course from somebody else. So conveniently, you can put yourself in 2 courses that overlap in time. Some students struggle by 4th year with 2 courses that overlap just an hour, like 2 3-hour courses that overlap. And in order to graduate, they may have to take those 2 courses. And at this point, Acorn lets them do that. Yeah, I already said, balance your courses between the terms. Don't necessarily give yourself Mondays and Fridays off. I talked about the back-to-back classes. Also, of course, you have your own personal schedule. I talked about, you might have family commitments or other commitments, but also, like, do you study well in the morning, or do you study better at night? Night classes, by the way, tend to start on the hour. If it's anything after 5 o'clock, interestingly enough, the lecture section is usually L5, like 101, or L5, 102 for after 5 o'clock. This is a remnant from the 1970s. But most profs also start their night course on the hour and then 10 minutes before the hour. So you're out like 10 minutes earlier. I already mentioned that the numbers in the 2nd and the 3rd place don't mean harder course. Room for small courses, I'm still getting to that. Electives, we'll talk about it. Reflect before signing up for, oh yeah, 2nd year courses. This is a little like the advice about don't feel you need to take 6 100 series courses when 5 is plenty in your first year. But you might want to know whether or not you can take a 200 series course. If it has a prerequisite and you don't have the prerequisite, then no. And a department will probably not say to you when you go and ask for permission, they probably won't say yes if you don't have the first year prerequisite. But there are some 2nd year courses. Usually they have the word introductory in the title. That don't have a first year prerequisite, and you actually, if you want, you can take those. I would say this: if you've signed up for 2 or 3 200 series courses in your first year and you think you're fine, it might be a good idea just to stop by and visit somebody in the registrar's office and just say, does this look okay? But the occasional 200 series course and language courses, your language skill might have placed you in a 200 or even a 300 series course in first year. So that's also fine. But keep in mind, first year courses are designed for first year students. The instructors are usually a little more accommodating with the skills that you have to develop, because there's an inevitable gap between what you did in high school and what you're expected to do at university, and that can take a while to learn. And the first year courses typically tend to accommodate for that in some way or another. And always check prerequisites. Okay, so here's my big classes slide. There's no doubt that you'll be taking some classes that are larger than what you're familiar with from high school. As I said, there's 500 first-year classes in Arts and Science, and seven of them, actually 9 of them are in Convocation Hall, which seats like 1,500 people. And 7 of them actually have enrollment caps of 1,500, and those are the Anthro, the Astronomy, the Bio 120 and Bio 130, the Physics, the Political Science 101, and the Psych. And then 2 of them are limited to 850, but they're also in Convocation Hall, Soc 101 and Soc 100 and Soc 150. I would say this, I don't find the seats in Convocation Hall very comfortable. So if you're stuck for 3 hours, and especially if you're as tall as I am or approaching this, they're not very comfortable. But usually when someone is teaching in Convocation Hall, departments will come up with an instructor who, first of all, enjoys teaching in large classrooms. Secondly, has usually gotten some sort of teaching award from the university. And third, keep in mind, there's always tutorials in these large classes. So if there's no avoiding a large class, then don't think, oh, I'm stuck in a large class. It's not as if it's a less good teaching experience. It's just the fact is that 199s were limited to 25 students with an instructor who really likes teaching. You don't get a teaching experience better than that. But a large class experience can be just as good. So don't feel despondent if you happen to have 2 courses in Convocation Hall. Because when you heard about U of T and people were recruiting, they probably told you like 70% of our first year courses have classes under 40. I think that's on my next slide. Yeah, the majority of courses have classes of fewer than 40 students. But the fact is that most students end up taking at least 1 course in Convocation Hall. It's not as if you were given bad information, and there's still integrity in advertising, but there's different teaching experiences in different classes, and profs themselves can vary. Some of them are like Dr. Doolittle to Eliza, just making you do what they do. Some of them are more like the Aquarius, the mythical god who like pours water into you. It's like you have all of this stuff to learn and you have to have shorthand to take the notes. And some of them are more like Socrates, who are willing to have a more two-way discussion with you, and others just like to impart their brain onto you. Some of them really like their research, and because they have to teach, they do, but it doesn't mean they're bad instructors. Those are sometimes the courses where students who do really well in those courses end up doing research with the prof later. So just know that there's a variety of teaching methods as well as a variety of sizes of classes at this university. But for the smaller classes, there is the Seminar 199s. Is there anyone who doesn't know what a Seminar 199 is? Great. The first year foundations, which is also called the ONES program. So each of the colleges and the Monk Center offer the College ONES programs. Those are smaller. And also Victoria College offers a couple of 100 series seminars as well that may be interesting. So take a look at them. They used to be called Pathways. I don't know why I left that on my slide this year. They all explore interactive learning. Often there's some activity that takes place outside of the classroom. They're a great way to develop your writing and presentation skills and to hone your intellectual independence. And they are for students from any background, and they conveniently satisfy breadth requirements. They are also restricted to first year students, so upper year students are not permitted to take these courses. And also, these courses cannot be designated credit, no credit. You all know what a credit, no credit is? Great. Any questions about small classes and big classes? Go ahead. You'll be put in that course. Yes. Yep, automatically. And it should be loaded before your start date. So you should see it already. On this topic, kind of unrelated, but not, there's the occasional course that has an enrollment indicator that says E, which means there's exceptional enrollment. Some of the language courses that I talked about where you have to do the language placement test first, or EAS 101, they will do the assessment and decide who gets to get into that course, but it will happen after the 26th of July. It's actually going to happen after August the 3rd. So on August the 3rd, and I'll come back to this, so repeating it is hopefully the mother of education or something. On the August the 3rd, you can put yourself in a maximum of 6.0 credits. But after August the 3rd, if you've gotten into a course that had an E enrollment indicator and they're putting you in and you're in 6 courses, they won't put you in because there's no more space because you're full at 6. So if you're in an E course that you're hoping to get into, make sure that you're not in 6 courses on Acorn. I will repeat this when we get to the slide, but I just thought I'd better throw that out now. Any other questions about small classes or big classes? Great. So words that are kind of the same and words that aren't the same. This should be clear to you now, hopefully, but if not, just raise your hand. So you realize that 100 series is the same as 100 level, is the same as first year courses. And A&S means arts and science, but it's also sometimes called FAS for Faculty of Arts and Science. The first year foundation is also called the ONES program. The first year seminars are sometimes called 199s. We don't make it easy. ACORN is the exact same thing as the, it's assisted by computer online registration network or something. It's the same as the SWS, which is the student web service, which some people will still call ROSI, which is what it used to be until 3 years ago, the repository of student information, which is still what the administrators call our back end of what you have as ACORN. So when I'm looking on my computer in the office, I'm looking at ROSI, but you're looking at ACORN, different user experience. Subject post doesn't get used too often anymore, but that's program of study. And everyone in the room knows they need a program of study after they have completed 4.0 credits. An L is a lecture. Cancel and drop are pretty much the same thing. You can drop courses up to a particular date, about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through a term. But if you want to drop it after that, then you jump down here, and it's actually an LWD or a WDR. These both mean late withdrawal. That's late withdrawal. This is late withdrawal. This is withdrawal, which is late. And you do this in the registrar's office. One has a petition, and one we can do. So, oh yeah, and we've caught on fall, and you're entering the 2018-19 fall-winter session, which has 2 terms: a fall session and not a winter session, but a spring session. So, breadth requirements is what you're doing as opposed to distribution requirements, which is what students who were here a long time ago are doing. The rest is pretty straightforward. I'm going to move on unless we have questions. Finally, we get to the timetable. How are we doing for time? Okay. You've probably already been here. But I will just, let's look at first. Just search for courses. Okay. A minute ago, I was talking about e-enrollment, and that is this. The E means you have to enroll in the department. You don't enroll for these courses on ACORN. You contact the sponsoring department and they enroll you. Most of the enrollment controls, either there's no enrollment control beside a course, or for most of the first year courses, there's a P, which just means priority. I'm going to explain this in 2 minutes, why this priority is significant to you. But basically, priority is given to a particular group of students. Sometimes it's first year students, sometimes it's students in humanities and social sciences, sometimes it's the life science students. They get in first. You can't get in until the second round if you don't satisfy the priority. The other enrollment criteria are explained here. They're not necessarily self-explanatory. Like, who knows the difference between R1 and R2, but basically they're restricted. Then you get to the Seminar 199 courses. These aren't my favorite ones to start with, but I did because we've already talked about the requirements for enrollment. So I wanted to point out where it is. And it's really under timetable instructions where they explain on the, is it here? Yeah. From 26th July until August 2nd. And then on August 2nd, the system is turned off. On August the 3rd, first year students from any college can enroll in spaces in courses that said, had a college designator after it, like Woodsworth or Trinity. There are none. Innis is not offering any specifically for Innis students. And if you want to take 2 Seminar 199s that are both called CCR 199 H1F in the first term, the system will only let you put yourself in one because you can't put yourself in the same course twice. So then you contact Deb Shaw at deb.shaw@utron.ca and she will put you in the other one, just in case you were thinking of 2 half courses. Okay, I'm going to go to a section that I find a little more intuitive. Let's go to history. I have to clear my filters. Okay, so History 101, Y1Y. So we all know HIS means history, 101 means it's the first year course, the Y means it's a full year course from September. The first one is the weight. This is 1.0 courses. The 1 means it's offered on the St. George campus, not University of Toronto at Mississauga or University of Toronto at Scarborough. And this Y is the one that means it goes from September through until April. Right. There's always a lecture section, 0101. If there's a 5 here, it means it's offered after 5 o'clock at night. They lay out the times. The rooms aren't here yet, as I mentioned, but the instructors are. They tell you how many spaces are available, and this is always done in real time. So right now, it's obvious. Nobody's signed up because course selection hasn't started yet. Does this have a wait list? Yes, it does. So Denise likes to say if the wait list is 10% or less of the course enrollment, chances of your getting in are really good. I have seen people get into wait lists where the wait list is 20% of the course, and I've seen other students not get into courses when it's a small course of like 20 students at the 4th year, where there's no way those students are going to leave because they were lucky to get the prof that they wanted, and the wait list is 20, and usually like 1 or 2 people succeed in getting in. For you though, as first year students, if there's a course that's full and you really want it, and it's 100 people, the course is 100, and there's 10 people on the wait list, I would say put yourself on the wait list, because U of T Arts and Science has admitted X number of students, let's say about 6,000 first year students, and this many people have said yes to coming. Some of them have even paid their deposit for their residence, but every year there's a drop off. So there will be, of that 6,000, there's going to be a percentage, about 5%, who end up not coming. They might have signed up for courses, but they won't be coming, and so they will be removed from their courses in September at a point at which you can grab the spot if you're the first trying to get in after the wait list shut down. But during the wait list, there are people who are coming who are just, they don't even bother signing up for courses. So the wait lists in first year, I have noticed, can be a little more flexible. So don't be too despondent if you're 10 on the wait list of 100. I would say by the second week of classes, the chances are pretty good that you could get that course. Always have a backup though. Okay. These are the tutorials. Always put yourself in the lectures first and the tutorials later, because there's usually tons of tutorials. So put yourself in your 5 courses, the lecture sections, and then figure out which tutorials you want. You could simply choose this history course, add it to your plan, and then view your timetable plan. And there it is. On Mondays at 11 and Wednesdays at 11, I have this course. And then I can just return to courses. I can add my tutorial, and it gets popped into your plan. So I find this plan pretty easy to use. It's nice that it's attached to the timetable, so don't hesitate to, and it's reliable. So was there anything else about courses? Enrollment controls. So here we go. These enrollment controls are always explained at the top, but this is what you have to watch for. Does history have an enrollment control? And it does. It gives priority to people. Okay, I don't know why. Control plus. Priority is given to this group of students until August the 1st. Anyway, here's the most important part. Year 1, Humanities and Social Sciences. Oh. Actually, everybody gets into this course. I don't know why there's a priority listed here. That's great. I guess this course isn't as popular as, say, let's look at Soc. Okay. Oh my gosh, I don't know what has happened. Sorry, you guys, I don't know why this will not let me scroll down. There, okay. So this Soc course, 100, has these enrollment controls. This section, the L2000, is restricted at all times to students listed below, faculty of kinesiology in the transition year program. So you can't sign up for this section ever. But you can sign up for this section, which has no enrollment controls. So basically, everybody can try and get into that course. Okay? I think I need to show you another slide before I say anything else about this, and that is, okay, bear with me, start dates. In the timetable, all these dates are listed. So let me just show you a timetable quickly. If you do. Okay, sorry, I just popped my picture up there. I had no idea that was going to happen today. So you go to timetables, you go to your session 2018-19 fall winter, and basically this is the page. These pages are as important as the calendar because they lay everything out for you. But really, I mean, my PowerPoint presentation I've snipped some stuff from here, 2018 fall, but I'm really just going to show it to you here because this is what you should keep your eyes peeled to. These are important dates for 2018 fall. So when we get to July, then you see that on the 26th of July, is there anybody in the room who has more than 4 transfer credits coming into this university? Okay, so everyone in this room is a first-year student, which means you will all be signing up on the 26th of July. You can find out what your start time is on the 20th of July. You go online onto Acorn, and it will tell you what time of day you start. Okay, you could start at, okay, you start at 6, it might start at 9. Or you could start at 4 in the afternoon. And for sure, you'll think 4 in the afternoon, that's terrible. But I will show you why. The priorities is actually why this isn't a big deal. All the science courses, okay, this is how it's going to work this year. It hasn't been entirely confirmed, but the first people on the system are the humanities and the social science students. So yay. And the science students go on in the afternoon. That's how they did it last year, and they're likely going to do it the exact same way. So the science students would be the ones who are worried because if the science student start time is 2 o'clock, they're thinking all those other students are on from 6 or 9 in the morning for hours and hours, stealing all of the sections of the courses I want. But the science courses, most of them have priorities. If I showed you chemistry 135, you would see a really big P. If I showed you math, you'd see a P. Biology, there's also a P for priority. The priority is for students who are admitted to first year into the life sciences stream. So if you want to take Bio 120, you won't be able to get in on the 26th or the 27th or the 28th. You have to wait until August the 3rd when all the priorities fall away, and then you can get into the course if there's space in it. There probably is space in it, but you just need to make sure that the science students get the science courses. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions? Okay. Then a few other dates that you really need to watch for. So basically, here's August 3rd. That's the date when the priorities fall away. And again, now they've actually laid out the start times for these people. The fourth years are the lucky ones. They get to start first. And there are some fourth year students who will look for a first year course because they have an extra course to take. They might want to do their breadth and pick it up as a first year course. So the priority falls away, they get the course. Then the third years, then the second years, and then the first years. Don't worry, the upper year students are really what they're trying to get is the upper year courses. It's not like they're snapping all the good first year courses. So at 12 noon on August the 3rd, you get to sign up for the courses which had priority before that you didn't satisfy. This is also the day that you can put yourself in 6 courses instead of 5. On the 27th, your max is 5.0. But on August 3rd, your max is 6. Again, don't take 6 courses, but try out 6 courses if you want to as a strategy because you're just not sure if you're more interested in anthro or social psych because you can't figure out whether you want to do civilizations or groups of people or individuals. Don't put yourself in the same course twice. English 100H, which develops writing skills, don't sign up for first term and second term. If you're in it in first term, you're already in it. And it's not like you're going to expect to fail it and need to take it again later. So don't take it twice. If you only want one history course, you could put yourself in 3 history courses, but you only need 1 to get into the program. They only take 1 first-year course to get into the program. So be strategic. Use the 6th course because there's an additional course you think you might want, or because you would like to try out the courses for the first week and read everybody's syllabi before making your decision of which course to drop. You can stay in the 6 courses until November when you have to drop the course, or else it stays on your record, but that's a little bit mean-spirited. If you can make your decision in the first week or 2, then drop the course you don't want so that somebody else can take it. But use the strategy to your advantage at the beginning of school. Let's say you do all of this and then you forget to register on the 29th. Then you lose all your courses. So be sure you register by the 29th. And registration means either officially deferring, and for those of you in the room who will be receiving OSAP, Magdalene will talk a little more about this in the afternoon, but it's brand new this year, the system. OSAP is now going to be coming, your fall tuition from OSAP is going to be coming directly to U of T. So you don't know that everybody before you was getting their money themselves and then paying the University of Toronto. This is true for all universities in Ontario, not just U of T. And then if there's anything left over, it gets deposited into your account, because when you applied for OSAP, you had to give them a bank account number. All of this is happening in September. What you get to do is defer your fees by the 29th. So there's going to be detailed instructions coming online at the very latest on the 16th of July. And that will tell you whether or not you will be deferred automatically because you're at least getting $1 from OSAP, or whether you have to click a button. So watch for your emails. You have been getting emails from Denise, right? Denise Gray. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, right? Because you signed up for the session. But you'll get emails from enrollment services from U of T. I understand that students get like hundreds of emails from U of T, but that's more during recruitment where everybody's trying to recruit you. Watch carefully for the emails, because you will get some. We'll send you some helpful tips. OSAP information is coming out. If you're not getting OSAP, you have to pay your first installment of your tuition on the 29th of August. If you haven't paid by the 29th, you will lose your courses. And then if you still want to be put back in your courses, you have to pay a re-registration fee, and you have to be lucky enough to get the courses. So just a couple of dates to remember. 26th of July, you want to be the first on at your first chance. 29th of August, be sure that you've got the fees covered so that you're registered. The rest is pretty easy. You'll figure out when school starts. You'll go to orientation. But I did mention drop dates. And I do, see my cursor, right? Yeah. If you're in a half course in first term, then also every year some students only put themselves in first term courses and forget to put themselves in second term courses. You put yourselves in courses for the whole year. Don't do the second term courses later, or they could be full. But if a course isn't going the way you expected it to, then the last date to drop it and have it removed from your transcript is the 5th of November this year. So it says last day to cancel, drop, F section course codes without academic penalty. I will remind you, and if you didn't hear this because you weren't in my session, sorry to those who were in my session who have to hear it again, but after this date, if things go awry for you or not going the way you were hoping, and you're really worried about a course, be sure you come into the registrar's office. We can discuss options. The credit, no credit deadline may have passed, but we may be able to still designate the course credit, no credit. The late withdrawal, if there's a compelling reason for you are doing poorly in the course and not having dropped it on time, we can petition to the Faculty of Arts and Science, but we also have the option of up to 3.0 credits designating those LWD for late withdrawal in the registrar's office, as long as we do it before the last day of classes. So know that your registrar's office is here to help you out if you run into a difficulty. Let's see. And then there's a fall reading week. I think that was the basics that I wanted to show you in the timetable. But also, if you think that I've just been rambling and none of this makes much sense, then You can also revisit all of this here in the timetable instructions. Just, follow these down here. I'm almost done, really. You must be starving. I know I am. Okay, so that was really my dates thing. The wait lists. Oh, yeah. So I mentioned you can get on a wait list. Classes start in like the 4th of September. If you're on a wait list, the wait lists get turned off on the 14th of September. This is really important. If you're still hoping to get a course and you didn't get in through the wait list, and on the 14th, the wait lists are shut down, then basically you still have until the 19th to try and get in. No more wait lists, so it's first come, first serve. If somebody else is in Anthro 100 and you were hoping to get it and they drop it on the 15th of September, it will immediately have an open spot. The first student who's trying to get the course will succeed in grabbing that spot. Truthfully, not a lot happens on the morning of the 15th after the wait lists are turned off on the 14th, because it's not like people are going to wake up at 6 in the morning to drop courses. But over the next couple of days, they'll realize, okay, I don't need this course, I'll drop it. So spots will come up in courses and you can put yourself in them immediately. That's also when some students switch courses, because if it turns out that there's one prof that students are feeling like, I really can't learn in this situation, they may be pouring themselves into another section. Well, maybe that prof really works for you, so then you would get that section. Okay? Okay, I already told you Humanities is most likely going to be on first. It is at 9. It used to be 6. We start at 9 now so that the registrar's offices are open. So if anything horrible goes awry with the course enrollment system, you can call the registrar's office to complain. We talked about the strategies for the Seminar 199s. Talked about the second round. I talked about wait lists, though I didn't mention the number. You can put yourself in up to 2.0 waitlisted courses. And remember when I was talking about the limit of 5 courses on the 27th up until the 3rd of August and then 6? It's not like you can put yourself in 6 courses and then add 2 waitlisted courses. Waitlisted courses count in the 6. There's an enrollment card on Acorn, so you can load everything up in advance and use it as a planning tool, which is a really good idea. Don't assume that the enrollment card is just going to, on the 27th, do its work on its own. It doesn't. You have to go in and hit each course for enroll. And if it turns out that then one of the sections that you wanted is full, be sure you have a backup plan, either in a second enrollment cart plan or just in your head to know what to sign up for. Still good? Okay. Oh yeah, and if you're in a course, this last point, modify function on Acorn. Every year there are some students who think that they can put themselves in, like, let's say you're in one section of Echo 101, but you want the other section. You can't put yourself on the wait list for a section of a course that you've already secured. But what you can do is you can just keep trying the modify button. If there's a spot open in the other section of the course that you want and you hit modify, it will either pop you in and take you out of the course, or it will check, find that there's no space, and it won't kick you out of your course. So that's the modify button, which is a pencil icon. 200 series courses, Arc and Viz, it's a separate faculty, but there are architecture and visual studies courses open to arts and science students, just as there are arts and science courses open to architecture students. It's just that you can't do the studio courses, but you can do the history of architecture and visual studies. Their calendar is a little hard to find online, so I just always type Daniel's Timetable 2018 and it takes me there immediately. Check your prerequisites, time conflicts. I already told you, you can slot yourself in 2 courses at the same time, but not advisable to stay in them. Registration instructions, we just went through them when I logged us into the timetable, and UT mail. So if you're on a wait list and they put you in the course because you've moved from the wait list into the course, you get an email. If you're already a U of T student, that email is only sent to your UT Mail Plus account. But as first-year students, many of you don't have UT Mail Plus accounts yet, because first you have to get a student card, then they give you a secret activation key, then you have to go online, then you create your University of Toronto email account. And while you will want to do this early on, we asked them to come on a Saturday, but they came in the past and they felt they didn't serve enough students. So because you also have to bring your all this documentation, your offer letter and proof of who you are. For first-year students, up until the last day to enroll in courses, U of T will actually send the message to the email that we have for you, Gmail, Hotmail, whatever. It's only after the last day to sign up for courses that we switch everybody over to UT Mail Plus. So you'll get an email that says, we just put you in this course that you were waitlisted for, which is helpful because if you decide you don't want the course, then you know that you were put in and you can go back and reverse it. Steps to enrolling. I talked about the important dates. Don't enroll. I talked about that. Acorn is pretty intuitive. It's got, and there's videos that show you how to work it. So it seems pointless for me to struggle through showing you something that's really very easy for you to operate on your phone or on your desktop. So I'm not going to bore you with me trying to demonstrate to you what you can do better than I can. Waitlist, steps to, okay, don't forget to register. Registration is not just signing up for courses, but paying at least 100% of fall tuition by the 29th of August. And I talked about important dates. Wow, did you figure out the dates are important? If only I had known. There's lots of blogs, U of T Starter Kit, as well as Ask a Student. Librarians offer useful one-to-one help as well as online help. There's web tools available through the library to help with referencing, which is really helpful for humanities and social science students. Like basically you just upload all of your references and then just you say at the end, you know, I would like this done in MLA format or APA format. Employment opportunities, learning experiences. Learning from your mistakes is not always a bad thing, but if you want to avoid making some mistakes, come and visit the registrar's office. Ran out of time for the poll. There's professors at the lunch. If you don't know what to say to them, go up and talk to them anyway. You can say, what can I do to prepare for your first year course over the summer? Or is the specialist better than a major? Or I heard about experiential learning and I'm interested. Does your department offer any? Or what would you suggest is the best habit to develop in order to do well in your course? Or what mistakes did you make, if any, in your first year? Or is there anything I should avoid doing? They're there. They've probably already eaten their hamburger. So if you have a question, don't hesitate to go up and just talk to a prof. It's kind of a cool experience. It's good practice for when you're here because profs, they have office hours. Students typically are super intimidated by talking to instructors and profs, but don't be. And so if you are feeling intimidated, try it out now. The lunch is in the residence, which is right across the street from where we assembled this morning. Go through the front doors and you just walk straight through and that's where the lunch is. You can probably smell the barbecue. Thanks. I'm sorry this took so long. I hope it was helpful and I'll see you at the lunch.